All right, so for those of you who don't know, this is a frag-off, and what you see in front of you here, these are diamond saws, and the saws have blades that are coated with little chips of diamonds. They're sharp enough to cut rock and stone, but they wouldn't really cut your finger. They're what are called wet sump saws, so they put water in them. You can see them put water in that rotates around. It's kind of like if you've ever seen somebody cut tile. It's very similar to a tile saw. What they're going to have here is they're going to have 3 colonies of different corals, and they're each going to compete, have a few minutes to make as many and as clean of frags as possible. For those of you who don't know, the reason we do frag, you can kind of think it in the freshwater world of like growing and splitting your freshwater plants. But you can cut some corals, cut their skeletons, separate them apart, re-glue them down, and that's what you see out here for sale, and that's what we're going to be doing here. So every type of coral requires a different methodology to cut it properly, safely, and everything else. So what we have here is we have 2 judges and the Chicago champion from this event, and they're going to judge how well the cuts were made, what techniques were used, how many frags came out of the thing, and so we're going to have 3 rounds. They're each going to have time to cut them, mount them, everything else. They'll go over. The judges will review them under different criteria. We'll hear from the judges. This is serious, too. Like, you guys are at Aquashella, like, oh, yeah,
this is fun. About being the best of the best.
So they have a whole bunch of actual criteria. So instead of, like, if you were here for the scape-off where we just clap and see who is the most popular person up here, we actually have legitimate judges that have a legitimate set of criteria that they're judged, so you'll actually see a winner.
Easy. These guys are going by speed. Then they got to go by the quality of the frag that they're creating. They're planning on how well this is going to do. These judges know exactly what they're looking for the future lifespan of these corals.
All right, so we'll go through. We'll introduce you to the judges so you guys can get, if you were here earlier and you saw Jake, this is Jake Adams. Don't be shy. Jake doesn't bite. Despite the hair. If you've gotten news or industry reviews or something, chances are that information has come through Jake and Reef Builders in some capacity. So Jake is a staple in this industry. You always see him at these shows and everything else, and he's been a key member of this judging team since this event started here. So a lot of experience sitting here at the table with Jake for everything under the sun. So go ahead and you can go down to Chris.
Next we got Chris Meckley. Now Chris owns ACI, which is one of the coolest coral companies out there. The amount of passion and drive this gentleman has built in this industry for this hobby and the future of aquaculture is absolutely amazing, and he is definitely one of the judges that knows exactly what he's looking for. And then next up was it Chicago, right? Chicago winner.
The reigning champion.
That's right, Nick Barry.
Current belt holder.
From Gingerbread, coming back as the winner of our last champion, is here to be the judge of these next contestants.
Look how confident he is now. He's just sitting. He's only like 21 years old, but he owns the room right now because he won.
He's got youth on his side. He's winning.
That's what it is.
Let's get to the contestants. You're down there, Scott. Ladies first.
Evie, do us a favor. Introduce yourself.
Hi, guys. I'm Evie. I'm actually from Fritz Aquatics. And I've been fragging coral for roughly about 12 to 13 years, but I have been on a 2-year break, so this is going to be interesting.
She is ready. Next up, we got Frank Gardner from Frank's Tanks, famous FFtasia. Frank, introduce yourself.
Hey, hello there, everybody. I've been into the coral business for a long time, been doing this for a very long time, but I don't normally do this because my buddy who normally does that, his name is Brian Cinnamon in the back, but I'm going to give it my best shot against these guys.
Yes,
Frank the Tank. Frank the Tank. All right, last but not least, not hometown, but local Texas hero, Mr. Brandon Hooten.
What's up, everybody? I'm Brandon Hooten. I'm from Aqua Studios Aquarium. Some of you might remember me from working for Fritz in the past. I've been doing this for 17 years professionally. We'll see how I do.
Ringer.
I want to point out, this isn't just for fun and games. It is a fun game, but the reason why we do this is to teach what sustainability is. These guys are showing what we're doing inside the hobby to aquaculture coral, to actually reproduce coral to make our hobby sustainable. Go Brandon, Evie, and Frank. So.
All right, guys, this is how it's going to go down. You guys are going to get 10 minutes per colony. Where are our colonies? I think we're missing a key piece of equipment here. That would be the coral. For your information, you'll get 10 minutes per round to frag as much as possible, cleanly, professionally, You'll be judged on a variety of things, so make sure you're doing this as if you are doing stuff that you were going to sell. This isn't a speed test. This is a quality coral that you would sell at your own facility, shop, or whatever. So just keep that in mind as you're going through. Not necessarily the most will win.
Now, this is about the best of the best, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, well, we got time. So what's your game plan? Duncan's first.
Duncan's first, definitely the saw. Calculate for angle, make sure they stand up straight. Clean cuts, don't get in the heads. Should be good.
All right, Frank, how about you?
I have absolutely no game plan.
That's always a good one to have.
Yes.
That's it, baby. You just go all in, go for broke.
Yeah, I'm just kind of going to wing it.
you
Just
got?
going to wing it.
He's gonna wing it?
You know, there's a lot of different approaches to cutting corals. You can cut for quality, you can cut for making it look like it hasn't just been cut. You can cut for propagation, where you might make a lot of very small cuts to grow out into sellable frags. And so there's a range of approaches that you can take, and you really need to approach not just every group of coral with different techniques, but also like the individual colonies will have imaginary dotted lines where you're gonna have the best and cleanest cut. So we're just gonna look and see these 3 different approaches to 3 different colonies of 3 different groups of corals. And at the end of the day, I think it'll shine through who is just currently more in tune with what we consider to be high quality coral propagation.
You know, it's something that you don't really think about. You know, these animals are absolutely gorgeous. They're very precious, especially to me. And not taking your time per se, but doing things the right way and with experience. These guys all have plenty of experience with cutting frags. If they do it the right way, these corals will thrive and grow and do extremely well. It's kind of like artwork. You know, I mean, I consider it art when we're doing frags at the farm, making sure that they are, uniform, that they're sellable and survivable after they're cut. And that's the whole goal, is we bring these corals in from the wild. And it sometimes gets a bad rap from some areas and certain people, but in reality, when we take these corals and break them down into smaller pieces, we're literally giving that colony of coral a better chance of survival long term in captivity.
Yeah, basically to continue on what you guys both just said, but basically just looking to see the quality of the cuts and kind of see how they're gonna go about and kind of create those invisible lines across the colony, see who's in tune with how it's gonna get cut, and kind of see how the frags are going to do the best. I don't know.
Take it down a notch, Nick. Come on.
So as the current reigning world international coral fragging champion from Aquashella, Chicago, right? Do you have any tips for the contestants going into this contest?
I would say just don't get stressed. Just go with the flow. Just start cutting and just start cutting into pieces.
Advice I have for you guys is don't overthink what you're doing and just have fun doing it. But, think about it, but don't think about it.
All right, there you go, folks. All right, we good? We got corals now. All right, you guys are going to go Duncan's first. All right, so Evie gets first pick of the Duncan round. Once all 3 contestants have their coral colonies, we'll kick off 10 minutes and we'll start things for them.
So they're getting ready. They're picking up the first
These ones are the Duncan ones.
They're going with Duncans. You guys that don't know what Duncans are, these are a large LPS. These corals are a branching coral. They have these large polyp heads, and they look awesome. If you ever see them in any sort of tank, they're a nice coral.
All right, Frank, your choice.
And they are fantastic.
Just happened. All right, Mr. Hooten.
Quite selective. Are you guys ready?
Are you ready?
Are you guys ready?
Yeah!
Ready!
All right. And in 3,
2, 1,
frag off! All right, folks, we're directly after the start here. We got on the left-hand side, we got Brendan who going to the saw, cutting to the guy, we got Conley and Duncan here. Do we have any clear favorites already, or do we have a popularity? Not that you guys have any input on the judging, but let's just, by round of applause, who's rooting for Brendan? Wow.
Wow, that's pretty
What do we
good.
got for Frank? How's Frank?
Oh!
Well, what about Evie?
I gotta say,
That's pretty even.
Pretty even.
You guys are. This is a serious head-to-head competition. What you're seeing here is a bunch of different techniques of how to cut, separate these out. You'll get to see them glue.
Frank's going through, taking his time. I like how he's making those smaller frags. Evie's just picking and choosing the right ones that just look good that she knows.
You guys are getting some close-up pictures here, so you can kind of see they lend themselves very well to easily seeing where you can cut and separate them, unlike some of the corals that we're going to come into next. These guys are probably one of the easier ones to frag effectively, even as a home hobbyist, so something you shouldn't be afraid of doing if you have a colony of Duncans at home. Chris, do you like what you're seeing so far?
I do. It's we picked it because it's actually a super dense coral, and I've seen so many blades break because people rush, and I don't know if we should have started this first. And just see how everything's going to work out here. It's going to be interesting because I know how we do it, and everybody's techniques are different, and maybe I can help me down the road.
There you go. Yeah, you've actually learned something from the people you've watched, sure. So
as I'm looking at the contestants, one thing that you'll notice already that is there's a very similar looking saw, but there's actually two different sizes. On both ends, we have the Griffin normal size saw, which doesn't give you nearly as much room to see what you're doing. In the center with Frank, he's got the Griffin XL, so he's got a lot more room to see what he's doing, but the blade down at the bottom actually wiggles a little bit. So it makes it a little harder to get that precision cut unless you know how to keep that blade in check.
What would you do?
Well, I think, my biggest thing putting a frag on a plug is basically how it's going to grow out. I tell people foresight in placing your corals is key. Have a vision for where you want it. So like I said, just be mindful of where these corals are growing, where they need to be, and then it just makes it easier on how to cut them.
5 minutes, folks, 5 minutes.
You can see Hooten is gluing away, and it looks good. You can see everything moving around, Frank. Please.
This is interesting to see because we're seeing really different techniques.
Hooten, how you making out, brother? You are looking fantastic. How's it feeling? Feeling good?
It feels great, man.
Right,
We got some good frags out of this one.
That's awesome. Great footage. Frank, how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty confident.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks really good. Evie?
I really like it. I'm offering a lot of different sizes, so that way it can accommodate a variety of looks. So I'm not just trying to make everything as small as possible. I'm trying to create some good solid cuts on how the coral is growing in the first place without interrupting perhaps the shape it's trying to take on.
How are we looking on time there?
2:58, folks, 2:58. If you're not gluing, you should be.
So
where
one technique
where
that
are final frags going? Do we got a judge's bucket?
One technique
Or
that I'm
are we
picking
going
up
to take
on
each?
is Frank, as he cut his corals, he actually left them on the table, and this is something that I do. I don't like to take the corals, put them in the water, then go grab them again and dab them off a little bit. Depends on what coral you're working on, but I think right now Frank's got a good technique for keeping the corals real close at hand so he can make those finer adjustments before he glues them onto the frag plug.
Coming down to the last bit. These guys are gluing.
So I don't know if you guys know because this is the first time, and I'm sure Nick might be a little jealous, but there is hardware at stake here, folks.
Look at that
Look
trophy.
at that. Huh?
Ooh. Ah.
Left side, can I get an ooh? Right side, an ah. Left. Right. All right, we got 115 left. 115. Oh. Bush League. JV move right there. How we looking down there, Scott? Where's Brendan at? 45 seconds.
He's coming down to the last bit. You can see he's just putting his frag plugs away. He's just staring at them, looking at his beauties.
30 seconds. Final prep. Oh, we got a final cut going on. Oh, broke a blade. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands off your corals. All right, folks, we're going to load these up, send these corals over to the judges as we reset buckets, refresh water.
These guys, the judges are going through, checking to see what they're looking at.
Are we giving them away? I don't know. Sean, what's happening with the frags? I believe we are. You guys are getting primo, top quality frags. How we doing up there?
Good. These guys look like they're rock and rolling. Just
Ready?
checking in with
All
the
right,
judges.
thank you. Somebody want to tell us a little bit about the next coral, the maze brain?
The maze brains. That was actually something Jake and I talked about the other night, was a good coral to cut, and hopefully these guys know what they're doing with the maze brain, because after they cut a maze, if you don't cut it properly, you can have recession on parts of the coral. And it's going to be interesting to see how these guys do it and see if they do it kind of the way I've always done it.
I mean, really, like as far as cutting them, I just want to see like how they cut them and make sure that they're kind of not cutting too small pieces, but not too big of pieces as well. Also, trying to see like the survivability of the pieces. You don't want to just cross cut right down the lines. Like you need to kind of follow the polyps, I'd say, but it's not really a polyp, the mouths on it.
So out of all the corals that are used in the Aquashella frag-off, I think the maze brain is always going to be included because it's such a hardy coral. You could practically drop the entire coral and every single piece will live. You can almost not kill this coral. The biggest problem you might have with Paragoniastria, what's the most common maze brains, is that it will get very happy, very healthy, and very aggressively defend its territory. So more than any other coral here, we're looking less for, is the frag going to survive? This is a really durable coral. So when it comes to this particular maze brain, we're really looking at some of the quality of how many frags did they make, how do they look when they come out, and just how sellable the piece is, and how many pieces they make from one particular colony. The time is very much going to be their biggest opponents, their biggest challenge in this particular round of the frag-off.
We're ready? All right, in 3, 2, 1, frag off! 10 minutes on the clock. We're starting with the cutting of the saws. The water's coming from the saws. Saws on the left.
And that's all.
Scott's over on the left side of the tank talking to Brandon.
I love watching maze brains get cut. I think this is one of the coolest species to frag. And seeing how each one of these contestants is going through and have their own way that they do this. It's one of my favorite parts.
Is it, Scott? Is that one of your favorite parts?
Yeah, because I love this coral. I think this is one of the most underrated corals out there.
They smell. It smells awful fishy up here. Let's get to the hard-hitting questions that everybody wants to know. Brandon, what kind of product do you use in your beard?
I have several oils and balms.
It's a routine.
Routine, yeah. You shower and when you shower, you shampoo and condition it. Take good care of it.
It is not easy. It's a lifestyle. It's like tanning. Cuts going on. Let's get a time check here. So compared to the last round, this is 8 minutes, guys. 8 minutes, 15 seconds. This coral is much more methodical. The Duncans, like you kind of saw, they were individual heads, like they look like broccoli almost, you can kind of like chop broccoli heads off and stuff. This coral, you need to be far more methodical about how you're cutting, what you're cutting around, what you're cutting through. When Chris was talking about recession before, there's an actual skeleton to these corals, for those of you that don't know, and the part that you see, the part that looks meaty, like you could poke it, that actually comes out. So they can recess themselves into those skeletons to protect themselves to some capacity. Some can totally go all the way in, some kind of shrink up. But that's what Chris was talking about when he was talking about recession. If you nick some of that meat or get too close to it, it'll recess and start shrinking in on itself, and then it can't come back out because it doesn't have area to heal over. So
one of the interesting things about the Australian maze brain, the Paragoniastria, is in its own genus. And from the north of the Great Barrier Reef to the south, you find a lot of variability between corals that are incredibly scribbled, very mazy, with very tight valleys. And as you go further south, those valleys get more connected and more connected until you have more kind of oblong-shaped valleys. So depending on the coralite or the coral colony that they picked out, you'll have a lot of variability. So maze brains is one of those. That'll be one of the challenges that the contestants are going to have to navigate, is whether they have a colony that's very scribbled or kind of like closed coralites.
5 minutes, folks. 5 minutes even. How you feeling? You like this coral? Is it cutting well for you?
It's cutting well. It's the skeleton's nice and light, so the saw's eating through really quickly, but it's a lot of frags.
Still smells horrible up here. How do you feel it?
Pretty good, actually. It is a more difficult coral to cut just because the bottom and the underside of it can actually be really wavy. So that can trick you into thinking that you're going to attach it to a frag plug. But then when you put it down, you realize that there's a hump that the glue perfectly set in and didn't touch anything. I have done that before, so you want to make sure that if you need to go underneath to smooth it out, you should do that, because if not, you'll move it and then you'll realize it didn't do anything and you sat there and waited for it to cure.
Evie, most people probably think what you're wearing is a bold fashion statement, but can you tell us a little bit about why you wear what you're wearing?
So the main reason why I chose to do the shield today is because it has been a couple of years since I did frag anything, and there's a lot of spray. You can see what really happens actually on my shield. It can get all over your face, it can get in your eyes, it can get in your mouth.
So depending on the types of corals, different ones can do different things to you as you breathe. Maybe your lips are getting chapped, anything like that. You do that, you're getting their slime, you're getting their toxins, they're on your face. Or in your eyes, which is really, really dangerous. As for the little finger gloves that I have, it's not something that I don't like doing like full-blown gloves. I like this because I can actually move and rotate, and they don't get too slimy on me. And I also feel like there's just that little bit of barrier between their slime again and my skin, because if you have very sensitive skin, you can get, you know, a little bit of a reaction out of it.
Yeah, I appreciate the education, but you only have 2.5 minutes left. You might want to get back to work. Somebody told me they saw somebody walking around with like a funny paleotoxin shirt on or something. I didn't see it, but certain corals will have toxins. If you're susceptible to allergies like bee stings or anything like that, you need to be extremely careful working with corals. I bet you just about everybody up here on stage that has done this has ended up with some level of paleotoxin poisoning over the year, and it's not fun and it can kill you. So don't be afraid of it, but be methodical with your safety when you're working with these things.
It cannot be overstated, the toxicity of paleotoxin from Paleothoa. You will almost never get intoxicated by them, but if it happens, it can be incredibly serious. So, you know, we do encourage our participants to wear as much, you know, personal safety as they can. And notice Evie was getting a lot closer to her plugs because, you know, she wants to see that, whereas the other two gentlemen are just kind of, you know, hanging back. So they have their personal techniques for keeping themselves safe. But as we're examining the frags, we're noticing that the contestants are being faced with an interesting hurdle, and that not all the frag plugs are exactly the same. So a lot of frag plugs you're used to are going to be very small, they're very flat. But because this is an encrusting coral, we're actually using some larger, wider discs. But the way they were made, they have a little bit of a concave surface on the top, and that prevents complete contact between the coral and the frag plug itself. So the contestants are having to navigate that a little bit by trimming some of the corners off of the frags that they've made to make sure to get full contact between the coral piece that they've cut and the coral that is going on the plug. Because one of the things that we weigh very heavily once they've done all of their plugs is we check them to make sure that they will hold down, that they will hold tight. It's one thing to put all the corals on there, you know, in 10 minutes and they kind of hold, but if we can just gently remove them, that's they're definitely losing points for that. So that's an interesting challenge that they're being faced with right now.
10 seconds, folks, 10 seconds.
Coming down to the final wire.
The last bit. 3, 2, 1. Hands off the corals. All right, there you go, folks. We're going to do the same thing. The judges are going to come over, take a look. We're going to reset tanks. Anybody want to ask anybody a question?
How do you know where to cut?
Yeah, again, you know, so these guys, it's just experience, but doing your research first will kind of tell you knowing what kind of genus the coral is or what family it's in will kind of define in general what the method is. You know, again, these guys all come from the shop world, owning or working at shops, so they just kind of learn that way. But it's really just doing your research to learn. Yes, my little elf friend.
I don't have as much experience with coral, so I was wondering what makes it an animal rather than a plant.
Science? I don't really know how to answer that. It kind of is.
That's your answer? It is what it is? Watch this. How I answer?
I need somebody smarter than me to answer that, but...
Who? Do you want to give it an answer?
Hooten, why is coral an animal and not a plant?
Yeah. Because corals eat meat and have a digestive system.
That's not
the
science.
Coral itself isn't photosynthetic. The algae that lives inside the coral is photosynthetic. That's the main difference.
He's just making up words. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I was wondering if you frag all corals.
No, there are corals that you can't frag. Scott, name every coral you can't frag. Go.
Like acanthophyllia. I don't suggest scolies, like large polyp corals. Like, big single polyp. You know, big single, trachees and things like that.
What's going on up there?
Hooten, how do you feel that round 2 went?
I feel pretty good about it. I haven't looked at anybody else's frags yet either, though, so I don't have a clue where I might stand.
Frank, how do you feel round 2 went?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, Frank, I love you. You're such a great guy.
Feeling pretty confident again.
He's feeling great. Evie, how you feeling?
I
feel pretty good. I actually really like some of the shapes that I made.
Yeah,
Gave it a little bit of variety instead of always going for the square.
Yeah, how do you feel like it's going there, Chris?
It's been very interesting, actually. It's kind of all over the place when it comes down to it. I can't pick one or the other. No, it's not bad. I mean, everybody's got their different techniques and their different ways of doing things, you know. And I don't know. It's very enjoyable to me to see 3 different people that I've never seen how they frag when I'm so critical with my crew and how they do things. I want it done a specific way. And they need to learn my method, even if they've fragged up thousands of frags in their life. You do it my way because I've fragged more frags than most people have fragged in their lifetime. And the methods that we've devised and what we use they work. They work well, and the whole thing, like I said earlier, is about the coral survivability. Is the coral going to make it? And making sure that you have a technique that does ensure the animal comes first and not your profits you're going to make. And the profits are great, but the animal is by far the only way you're ever going to make $1, so you better make sure the animal's taken care of and done properly. And that's why we picked Bauerbanky at the end here, is because it is probably one of the hardest corals, because the coral lights they vary so much, and you have really deep valleys on some, and then valleys aren't as deep on others, and then the septa walls, that's going to be a big key factor if you've ever fragged a Bauerbanky before, is do you know how to do it? And this will determine your fragging skills by fragging Bauerbankys, and I can tell right away if they're going to survive long term, or if they're going to recede a little bit and survive. But that's the key. We don't want them receding, but even if they do, as long as they survive at the end is the key.
That's awesome. Are we ready for round 3, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, I'm ready. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm having a
let's do round
conversation
3.
back here. Can you guys hold for a few minutes until I finish?
You have more important things going on.
I'll let
over
you
there?
get. You just go, take a break. Take 5. I'm going to finish
take
here.
5. We'll just start off later.
All right, let's take one. No, not that one.
Can I touch him?
Choose wisely. Oh, you sure? You sure about that one? I don't know. Bold move.
Bold move. I know, Frank.
All right, Frank.
That's a tough one, especially on the hardest of
Good
frag
luck.
coral
Good luck.
of the night.
Oh, oof.
Last choice.
I love Bowers because they look like you could just poke them. You know, they look all blown up, and you like reach in there and poke a squishy, like they'd make a noise, like honk or something if you squeezed them. All right, let's get a timer going here. 10 minutes. All right, you guys ready? Everybody got their frag saws on? All right, and in 3, 2, 1, frag!
All right, I have a question for all of you here now. Are you guys here because you want to learn about fragging corals safely? Or who found out that they got a free frag at the end of the thing if they came? Are you guys here for a free frag?
I didn't see that on my ticket. That wasn't in the fine print. All right, we're deep into it here. Yet again, another cutting technique going on with these guys. Getting the up close and personal. So you can see once he gets it on the saw, you can see the how it's glowing a little bit. That one you can't, the way the side, yeah, you see it glowing there? So you were talking about.
See what I'm cutting, where the lines are.
But that's all like sucked down in there. So normally it's all open. And that's why they look so much more fluorescent. But while they're cutting these, it's all sucked in there. But you got to have the light in order to see that fluoresce. All right, what's going on down there, Scott? Give us some. Oh, actually, Jake's got it. Jake, run us through something actually people care about.
As we're watching the contestants cut up these corals, one thing I do like to look for, especially in this coral with a delicate skeleton, is you don't want to push the coral through the saw. Let the blade do the work. So I noticed that our female contestant definitely has a very nice, gentle touch. She's letting the saw do the work. Frank's got a little bit of a thicker piece, so he is going to have to push it in a little bit more, but he can see what he's doing because he has that XL. And let's see what Brandon's doing. He's cutting pretty good between the coral lights. This is more than all the other corals that we used in this competition so far. So before we had the Duncan and the maze brain, and those are all like pattern skeletons, right? But these are a lot more nuanced. It takes a lot more finesse, a lot more observation of where you're cutting exactly. Maze brain coral, you can cut that thing into pizza slicers or squares, and the coral will do the rest at the end of the day. But the Bauerbanky, more than any other coral, almost any other coral, you really need to be delicate about how you cut it for maximum survivability and best rebound from the cutting process.
Scott, what's your take? Have you got any sneak peeks on who's ahead?
I mean, it's just watching her like just go with the flow as You know, I'm just putting as she moves around the bowers, moving around that skeleton structure.
Riding the bull, feeling the flow.
Feeling the flow, baby.
It's circular.
All right, so the corals that you receive from Australia, they come in a wide range of shapes and sizes, and they have a varying degree of reef left on the bottom of the skeleton. So Evie's piece was a really clean colony, only the skeleton of the coral. I'm noticing Frank still has a lot more material that came on his colony, so that's not his fault, but that's a challenge that he has to navigate. On the one hand, it makes the coral a lot more durable. He's going to be able to be a lot rougher with it because it has that back end piece of reef still on it. But once he's done making those frags, he's going to want to cut off that excess material that is not part of the living skeleton. So these are some of the challenges that come with a coral like Homophilia Bauerbanky, and each of the contestants has to navigate those hurdles individually.
Hooten, how you feeling, baby?
I'm feeling good, buddy. This thing came apart really nicely. I think we're going to have some nice, healthy frags.
Excellent. You stressing at all?
No, I'm in a rhythm now.
Is the magic in the beard?
The magic's in the beard.
No, that's what the flavor is in the beer. Little bit. That's where you keep it all. It's like your own personal seasoning. You get the dinner and a little salt, pepper, a little cheese sauce maybe. Depends on what you ate earlier.
Pizza sauce, cheese sauce,
and anything sauce ends up in the beard. Save it for later. Where are we here? We're getting 4 minutes 15 seconds.
All
4
right.
minutes 15 seconds.
Frank, how you feeling, baby?
I'm feeling confident.
He's feeling like he's gonna tell you to shut up and leave him alone. He's working. The man's working here.
Evie, how you doing?
I'm working here.
They are all feeling pretty good, baby.
Feeling good, getting down to the wire for this trophy. Frag-off contestant champion, Aquashella Dallas 2021. It's an impressive piece of hardware. I'm just gonna taunt him with it. I'm gonna walk by. You want that, you know you do. Can't get that anywhere else. You couldn't buy this yourself. No way you could just go buy and even put your name on it, which would even be more impressive. That is a badass trophy. You put an eye out with it too. It's like a weapon. All right, folks, we're winding down. You guys are patiently sitting here. Everybody having a good time? Yeah, still with us.
Time check, Peter.
Oh yeah, minute 30, folks. A minute 30.
Oh, these guys are rushing now. They're coming down to the final wire.
Look at Evie helping out her fellow contestants, sharing stuff. I think you should get bonus points just for that. Not that you need them. I'm sure you're in first place anyways, but you know. All right, 1 minute. 1 minute left. Are you done? Oh, would you like your corals transported to a magical
Are you done?
land?
Frank's the last one finishing up over here. No pressure, Frank. No pressure.
30 seconds. 30 seconds, folks. Frank, you got 10 seconds, buddy. 10 seconds. All right, folks, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wow, look at that sportsmanship. Woo! High-fiving people, sharing frag plugs. Everybody's a winner. Come on, everybody, group hug. Everybody get in the middle. No?
No.
All right. Judgings are going to judge.
Did you guys have a good time?
No. Oh, I was talking to you guys. Final words from the contestants?
Yeah,
I don't know. We were trying to fill some weight here.
Let's hear some final words.
Final words is, I have no idea what's going to happen. It doesn't really matter. That was a blast. This is fun.
What a nice guy.
I'm glad that this is over.
I just had so much fun because I adore both these guys and I've known them for quite some time, and I actually respect them both a lot as individual hobbyists. So I had a good time all the way around.
Oh, man. Sean, next show, can we get some people that don't like each other? I mean, come on. This contest used to be cutthroat, and now it's all like rainbows and hugs and, oh, here, I'm not using this frag plug. Please, you. All right, we got it covered, everybody. Scott, what did you think? You've been too quiet.
Guys, this has been an absolute blast. We love sharing this with you, especially you guys sharing your passion. What I also like about this, you have a lot of freshwater people that are so curious about saltwater and want to get into it, and they join just to see what this is all about. And we love sharing with you and sharing that passion with you guys.
Well spoken. He worked all night on that speech. All right, we got frags for everybody soon. Oh, man, a table full of frags. Who's going to take a free frag? I wish we had labeled whose frags were who, so if you take it home and it dies, you know who to blame. Now, next time we'll be sure to mark whose or whose. So, all right, we're feeding the results into the Fragometer Computer 2000 Doppler effects machine. We're going to correlate, calculate, configurate. Micturate. This is serious. You guys thought like this is a joke, but look at these guys. They're looking, there's pointing, there's hand gestures. Like this is a hand gesture, how things move through my body. All right, saws are being cleaned, dumped out. What's going on over there, Scott?
The judges are going through. They're just trying to, we're working together and see what they think's best. You guys can stand. These guys, the judges, this is legit. Like, don't get me wrong. Everybody has fun and have a blast with it, but the amount of work that goes into this, these judges are looking for, is absolutely serious. They are planning for long-term sustainability of these animals, and that's taken very, very serious when it comes down to this. I mean, these guys put every bit into this.
I smell something burning over here, so we must be getting close.
We are getting close.
Or I'm having a stroke, one or the other. All right, here we go. Prove to me that we're really in Texas. The stars at night shine big and bright. I could do that all weekend.
Yeah.
I just can't get enough. I love you guys.
It's like the best.
Seriously, it is.
It really is.
Texas just lives up to the hype. You guys are awesome. Bigger, better, badder. I think they'd be impressed. Do we have a winner yet? Like this seems like it's taken a long time. I bet it's been close.
All right.
Are we ready? All right. You guys want to announce? Here you go, folks.
No, but before we announce the winner, we want to say, put some comments towards every contestant. I want to mention that, it's really important that Evie had some personal safety, right? We cut these corals a lot. We get really, really familiar with it, but you just never know when something's going to fly up in your face. So really, hats off to Evie for having that. One of the big advantages that she had is she had a large, bright LED light. Even I'm guilty of not having enough bright lighting around my working bandsaw when I'm cutting corals. I put small lights on it, I put medium lights on it, and every time I do it, I'm just like, man, I still need more light. So adding a $500 light to a $300 saw, it is worth it if you're making a commercial scale, coral propagation. But Evie made some really great frags that would actually kind of qualify as miniature colonies nowadays, but she did those really well.
Talking about Frank, watching what he was doing, he was very detailed with how he was cutting his frags. He used the saw that I don't particularly use, but it seemed to be like it was working extremely well for him, and he did a good job at making uniform frags throughout his process. He took his time, was kind of more detailed from what I gathered out of it. It's an art, like I said, and he did an extremely good job with making it little pieces of artwork.
All right, so I was watching Brandon frag, and basically the only thing critique I'd have mainly was he didn't have any glasses on, but I think that beard definitely might have blocked some stuff from coming up there. Overall, the very first round fragging the Duncans, fragging the butts of the Duncans and gluing them on the plug with just the base of the skeleton, actually gluing that to the plugs and using it as a frag, because they will grow a new polyp from that, where no one else really did that, which I thought was going to look really cool.
So for round one, we were really quite impressed with the quality and the uniformity of frags that Frank made on those Duncans.
Woo!
On round one went to Frank. If you saw what we saw, you would have thought those things came out of a machine. Really well done, buddy.
They were. It was totally different than everybody. I was checking them out. That was really interesting to see how you cut them, and it was really a good way for Duncan. So if you get one of those frags, consider yourself lucky.
Round two was the maze brain. Brandon brought those home. He cut some really uniform frags. He cut a really good number of them, and we're really impressed with how he was able to navigate the really scribbly coralites of the maze brain coral. So round two goes to Brandon. We deliberated for a little while on round three, and we came to the conclusion that round three was actually a tie.
What?
Between Frank and Brandon.
This has never happened!
Wait, we're not done. We're not done. Congratulations to Evie. But the frags that Frank and Brandon made in round three were indistinguishable from each other. So we had to go back to our scorecards for round one and two to do the tiebreaker. We briefly considered doing a frag-off tiebreaker, but we decided that you guys have waited long enough. So we went back to the points for round one and two to determine the final grand champion of the Aquashella 2021 Dallas frag-off. And to take it away, Chris Meckley is going to announce the winner.
It's Frank.
Oh! My liege! Oh, yeah! We got the things! Here he is, Mr. Fragshella. Take your trophy, sir. You're the winner and the champion of the world.
I want to thank God and my mom and my dad and my friends, and I'm just carrying on. Thank you all so much.
And thank all of you.